I don't want to lose. I want to win!
I need professional help.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sports Betting Weekly, sponsored by EasySportsData.com. The books use data, shouldn't you too? And this is Easy Sports Data, like the preschoolers use. EasySportsData.com.
I win here and I win there. Now what?
Sports Betting Weekly.
I want to win!
Here we go.
Money talk.
Here comes the money.
You should also check out SportsBettingLessons.com. You'll learn some old tricks because sometimes how you bet is more important than who you bet. SportsBettingLessons.com.
Let's just do it. Let's meet this thing head on. And you were in it to win it. Talk about an education.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Wow, winning.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome to Sports Betting Weekly. As most weeks, we are sponsored by ChampionshipFootballs.com. ChampionshipFootballs.com, the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed, especially with some of the bonanza we brought back from Houston and the TriStar Collectibles Show. We've got autographs for LSU. We've got autographs for Alabama. We've got some autographs for the Dallas Cowboys. And I mentioned to you Blackhawk West from 151 Sports Investing. We have a 5-time Super Bowl champion, Dallas Cowboy football, souvenir football, signed by someone from all 5 teams. How would that be if you were a Cowboy fan on Christmas morning?
Well, I'm not a Cowboy fan, but I will tell you, I am a Chiefs fan. And a couple years ago, about a year and a half ago, you sent me a championship football for the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl, and it was the coolest present I opened that day.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Now, what we are doing, as always, is coming to you live. So if it is 4:58 in Los Angeles or 7:58 in New York, you're in the right place because we're going to start live betting and we're going to just get to it. So the first thing we're going to talk about with Blackhawk West, of course, is the hockey game. Should we hop anything right before? Should we hop on anything right before the game starts?
Yeah, I the one that's been very profitable for me is a team over 0.5 in the first period. These games have been low scoring, and the first periods have been low scoring. So these 0.5 overs for an individual team are usually minus 110. That's very little juice to give up. So unlike yesterday's game. Yesterday I thought very much that the Islanders were going to keep it alive and force a Game 7. And the Islanders are just really good in Game 6 situations the last couple of years, and this is a great experienced Cup-winning coach. But looking at this game tonight, Montreal against Vegas, I don't think we're going to see a Game 6 or a Game 7. I think Montreal is going to close it out at home tonight, and in order to do that, they're going to have to score early, and I think that they will. I think it'll be tone setting. So I'm on Montreal over 0.5 goal for the first period. That's minus 110. And then the actual money line for the game is plus 135 or 125, depending on where you go, if you take Montreal. And typically in this series, when Montreal wins, they're not coming from behind to do it. They're owning the time of possession, and they're getting breakaways through strong defense. And so Montreal takes an early lead. Vegas may come back, but I don't see Vegas taking a lead and Montreal coming back. That won't work. So I'm taking the money line now while there's value on it for Montreal.
So let me ask you a question. If you're at home, Montreal, why are you favored? Why are you the ones getting a goal and a half? And I'm saying that only because, I've been preaching it for 7 years. I can follow any sport and I can bet on anything, but I really don't know the nuances of hockey like I do football or even baseball now. Yeah,
so Montreal's at home, and they're actually a dog. And I think that the betting public is looking for Vegas to force a Game 7. Vegas has got a deep roster, and at this point, they've been in this spotlight a couple years in a row now. But there's a big advantage at home with these line changes. If you watched this game last night, very experienced coach, he was just toying with Tampa and the way that he had his line set up for the faceoff, particularly in the second period. In the second period, your bench is a little bit further away. So those attacking zone home team faceoffs, they can put the matchup they want. And it takes the visiting team longer to switch out of an unfavorable matchup, their guy has to skate a little bit further to get to the bench. Montreal has an advantage tonight in that regard, especially in the second period.
Well, yeah, you had explained that whole last home team last shift line change kind of thing, and I really never got it until I started paying attention, and the game was delayed because that's my advantage, one coach was saying, and I'm not using it till you make your move, It was like a check right on the ice.
That's exactly what happens. Now, some of the coaches, we saw some of it with Edmonton and Toronto, where they put one of their best players, like a number one line player, put him on the fourth line, just to try and throw some type of roadblock into that chess match that happens with the line changes. But home ice is very valuable, probably more so in the NHL, far beyond the crowd noise than in any other sport.
Yeah, there's really no other sport where you have, you could bat last in baseball, but it's a little different. Everybody knows you're going to bat last, and they know who's going to bat. All you can do is do a pinch hitter.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're looking at we're going to hop over to the Major League Baseball scoreboard because as of right now, I am on the Red Sox Rays game. You had mentioned it as well to me.
Yes, I did. And my play right now, it's minus 140 or minus 145, depending on where you get it. But this is a short play. It'll either cash or not here in the next 15 minutes. But I jumped on the Red Sox early. I'm taking 0.5 in the 5-inning line. I like the way that the game is going right now. And if it ends at the end of the 5th inning in a tie, the Red Sox are getting paid. But I actually think the Red Sox are going to I like what's happening at this particular point in the batting order, what's coming up in the next 2 innings. So I actually like the Red Sox to +5, even though it's a minus 140. Minus 140 only. The juice only matters if you don't cash.
No, very much so. Very much so. Or if you don't have that much money in your pocket, which is that's a relative thing. But what we got here, we've got 2 pitchers, right, that haven't given up a hit. The Pivetta for the Red Sox has struck out 4. And for the Rays, they've got Waka on the mound. But here's what I'm looking at. He's struck out 6, but he's walked 2. He's got a 4.86 ERA. The guy for the Red Sox is 4.19. That's 8 runs that these guys give up. These runs are going to come. I'm just going to keep betting them. Now, don't get me wrong. As you know, Wes, we sometimes have that live action come back and bite us right in the tush when you hop on 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, and 7.5, and the final score is 2-1. But we're not looking at it that way. So I've got over 4.5 that I'm going to play. And this is now live action, Boston, Tampa Bay. I am going to play that. And I am going to risk a unit. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to use what I like to call the 151 sports investing. I'm going to take what on a plus. I'm hopping up to plus 6.5. And I'm looking to get plus 6.5. I'm going to risk a little bit less because I'm getting plus money. And I took 5.5 earlier. So I'm in pretty good shape. All I need is a nice little rally, preferably by Boston in the top of the innings. Tampa Bay comes back and ties it. Your half a run works for you. I need runs, and I'm a happy man. But in the other games that I'm coming off of the Easy Sports Data, now we talked about it in the past. You know what? I'm not a big guy blowing my own horn, but when I go 12-2, I say I'm 12-2. And when I'm 2-12, I say I'm 2-12 too. It just don't happen as much. The bottom line is, as you guys know, though it was a battle last week because I came back from that trip and I had some responsibilities. You run an amusement park. How many people work under you in your department?
When we're fully staffed, between 600 and 800.
Yeah, think about that. What we're dealing with is it's a busy time of year for you, getting live action and getting plays in. Well, I had a real bad day that first Monday. I was trying to multitask with time sensitivity on the sports betting, and I had one situation where they didn't give me my money. Why didn't they pay me? Because I had bet the wrong game? Oh, that could have something to do with it. I bet Tuesday's game instead of Monday's game. things like that. And of course, you know what happens when you do that. Monday's game wins, but you find out after the fact that you didn't have it because you're dealing with the things that are really important. And then the Tuesday ones lose, of course. I mean, it's just, and really at hedging at that point, I let it up to the big one because, as you know, sometimes we screw up and we win. It happens. Sometimes it happens. You never know. I've known stories of guys that have screwed up and win. I just think, Wes, whenever I screw up, I tend to lose. That's just kind of how it works for me. I don't know. So, all right. So that's where we're at. But the rest of the games, yeah, I mentioned I had the over in the Yankee game with your Kansas City team. I got Toronto. They already scored. I got Houston. They already scored. Washington already scored. So the next thing I'm sitting on is the Minnesota game. I think it probably just started. So that's what I'm going to pay attention to. We're going to pay attention to the Minnesota game, which starts pretty much any minute now, and we'll take it from there. So we got some live action. We're going to sit around and kind of figure out what we're doing for the rest of the show because one of us will probably be married. One of the three of us on the show will probably be married another 12 years because, Wes, did he not make the right decision today or what?
He sure did. I have not been married 12 years. I've been married a year, although I think COVID newlyweds, quarantine and everything else, that's a little bit, that's like dog years or something, But
I agree. 7 easy.
Yeah, but John certainly made the right choice, and congratulations to him on the 12-year anniversary, and he will probably live to have another 12, making the right choice.
There are people that, just so you know, that have been married twice in 12 years. They had time for one marriage to ruin, another one to start up. So yeah, congratulations, John. He had some lovely pictures of him and his wife on his Facebook page this morning. So let's talk about a question I have. Every week I try to ask these two a question. John's not here, so Wes, you can talk as long as you want. But let's think about during your previous last 3-4 weeks, your best live action, top 2 best live action hits that you can remember. And you know what? If you can't remember, they weren't special because the special ones, as you know, you not only remember it, you can struggle to remember your access code to get your car out of the garage, but you don't remember the odds on this one,
Well, there's a couple of them, and we text back and forth, and with the cash tickets and what we're doing. So you guys know when I'm winning and what I'm calling, and vice versa. So there's really no surprises about our action with this group. A couple weeks ago, there was one, and I remember just the sheer number. I don't YOLO. I don't go all in. I preach a strategy and a bankroll management, but it was just too juicy. And I think I even said to you guys, I don't always go all in, but when I do, I make sure it cashes. But I'll tell you, last night, I call it short-term memory, call it whatever you want. But last night, going 7-1 in that Islanders game, I said it before the game. I said, I like the Islanders money line. And when they go down, I'm taking them again. And if they go down after that, I'm taking them again. And we did that. And then we jumped on the Islanders over 1.5. And then we jumped on the Islanders, to start the game, it was plus 135. Then we got them at plus 245. Then when they were down by 2, we turned around and got on the Islanders again at, plus 480. And then what happens? The Islanders won the game, and they won the game outright. And, so that was 7 cashes. The only one that didn't cash.
Here's the thing. When you're watching hockey and you got a ticket that says plus 2.5, and I had multiple tickets that said plus 2.5 and multiple tickets that said plus 1.5, plus 1.5, and they're down 2-0. You're a little nervous. They're down 2-1. It's not as much. When they tie it up, that 2.5 looks like gold, doesn't it?
It really does. And, to make things even sweeter, and, the guys that I have on the team with the Chicago Options Trader group, you hit them up and, well, what's the crypto move? Well, we threw it into the right crypto that bumped up 8%, and then you get it into the market the very next day. So it's like the money constantly works for you. So from last night to today, what that 7-1 Islanders win has turned into, and what it will be even in a few months. We talked about it. We cashed out 75% of the winnings, 25% went back into a very smart market play, and the money just keeps working. And so that's a short-term memory, but that was just a great one. And we called it before the game. We said, if they go down, we're jumping on them again. And they did, and we did, and we stuck to it, and cash.
Really, and that's what it's all about. No doubt about it. Okay, so we're going to pay attention to the Minnesota game that's kicking off. We got a hockey game that's kicking off. What we're going to do is I'm a little off. Now, I will remind everyone that we're going to be cashing tickets, and we're going to cash tickets. That's what we do, and it's not like, I don't know. It's not like shocking, but for me, after a while, we've done it every single week for so long now. I think we got skunked once. I really want to say, maybe 3-4 months ago, we had a weekend where on a Thursday night, I don't think we cashed a ticket, but up to then we haven't. But we start early now because we got the loudmouths following us. So you not only get to cash tickets if you hang around, you get to listen there on the loudmouths. And I was on the show, and let me tell you, even I mentioned before, my son was in the other, because we were in the hotel at this point in Houston at the show, and he's just shaking his head. The stuff that comes out of their mouths, I thought I could come up with some crazy ass stuff, but they make me look like I'm semi-sane. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to break, and when we come back from break, we're going to check on our live plays, and we're going to start looking at what I can do this weekend to have more money in my account than when I started. So if it's 8-12 on the East Coast in New York City, you are in a perfect spot to make some money, cash some tickets, because you are on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
You keep lying when you ought to be truthin'. And you keep losing when you ought to not bet.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly. You may be listening to us on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network. You might be watching it at sportsbettingweeklylive.com. However, if it's 8:16 in New York, you're live on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, and you're going to find out why we call that app worth its weight in Bitcoin, because we're going to be cashing tickets. So let's do a quick rundown of where we're at. Now, we've got the Red Sox-Tampa game. They're in the bottom of the fourth. It's still scoreless. And so if it's scoreless at the top of the sixth, Wes, you're cashing that ticket.
I am.
I need runs. All right. So then everything else I'm winning 7-0 in Toronto. I'm winning 4-0 in Houston. I'm winning 5-0 in Washington. And we're waiting for that Cleveland Minnesota game to get started. And then after that, I think I've got one more play. It is. It's under in the Dodgers game. I just watched the Dodgers not score runs against the Padres. I know the Cubs aren't scoring runs. I'm hoping together they don't score runs. And then we're going to be hopping on hockey. Now, hockey has officially started. All right. So now I can go there because there are certain books, and then we talk about it all the time. The book you use is relevant to what you like to do. I like to do open parlays. I like to do a lot of small wagers. And therefore, I need a book that fits that. I can't have minimums. I can't have rules of how I do open parlays. The bottom line is I want to bet this thing, and I'll worry about whatever's in there afterwards. Because, again, if you lose the first game, Wes, it doesn't matter whether it's an open parlay or an 8-teamer. It's done.
That's true. And what you're saying is there's a lot of truth to it. You get used to the book that you have, and it's your book for a reason. You like it or you don't. And God, we do a lot of live plays, and the amount of texts you and I have exchanged about having fast fingers. Well, it's easier to have fast fingers when you've got the remote memorized. I've switched cable companies before, and the worst thing about it is I can't change the channels in the dark. So I feel like my sports book app is kind of like that. I know exactly where to go and when it's going to switch, and that saves me money. It provides me with the best opportunity. I can't imagine switching books.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So what we've got here is my book doesn't offer team totals for the first period. But again, it's not something that I'm going to change books over, because what I do is I wait around for a live action to come in, and then it hops in. But there's always that little delay where they're not stupid. They're watching the game too. You just can't set lines just to set lines. That's how you get beat. They put a lot of effort into those lines, and that's why, when we have some of those lines that make us shake our heads, and then the day after the game, it's clear as a bell that the book knew exactly what they were doing. The problem is we don't have that clock. That's why that sports almanac from Back to the Future is so very valuable. Is it not, Wes?
Oh, I would love to have that gray sports almanac.
How much fun would that be? Okay, so let's talk about a couple things. First of all, we got another week. So it's the 24th. We got another week of June. Then we've got a whole month of July before there's even a smell of football. How are you going to handle it? What are you going to do?
Well, I'm getting ready. To me, it's CFL season right now. And Thursday and Friday nights are usually those are big CFL matchups. And, I live in the Midwest, so the games that are happening often in Calgary and Vancouver, those are even later games. So it's very weird for me right now because I'm used to watching 3-down football. But the CFL, in some ways, has given us a little bit of a gift. It's unfortunate that it happened through COVID-related times, but we're going to get the CFL at the beginning of August. That's going to bridge us to the NFL. Normally, that first week in August is we get the Hall of Fame game. We all kind of get excited, yay, football's back, and then you kind of ignore the preseason. But so we're going to get the CFL in August.
No, yeah, but
this weekend coming up, I'm looking forward to this.
All right, so it looks like you froze. I thought you just hesitated, but it looks like you froze. So let's do this. Let's go here and see if we can put escape there. All right, so while we're trying to get Black Hawk West back on, we're going to go ahead and see if we can get his stream working. We're going to hop over to the hockey game, and that is exactly what we're looking at. So right away, there's a power play. The Golden Knights have a power play. So that's going to be something that they're going to probably take the game off the board. I was just mentioning, we lost you there, Wes. We were mentioning there's a power play now for Vegas. And they're probably
for Montreal.
It said Vegas was on the power play.
There's a mistake somewhere because I got it on the screen. Montreal's on the power play.
Yeah, I remember they did. Remember there was one night they did a mistake that was wrong. I forget what it was, whether it was the wrong score or whatever it was. They don't do it very often, but whenever that happens, I like to do a screenshot, just to bust their chops. Because technology, I mean, we couldn't do what we're doing without it, so you got to put up with it. But so there's been 4 minutes gone in this game almost, and I still have not seen a live play opportunity because they haven't offered any. And they're feeling the game now. It does show the Canadians with the power play. So it was NHL.com hit the wrong button somewhere. All right, so we're gonna hop back over to Major League Baseball and see where we're going. All right, you still got a no-hitter. You're getting runs in a no-hitter. That's not a bad thing. Your guys got a no-hitter, and you're getting runs. So it's in the top of the 5th. You're 3 outs away from cashing that ticket. I don't have – I do. I have over in the first 5 innings. So I have over for this game. This game is going to be – it's the only loser I have. I'll be fine with it because I loaded up on Houston, and they keep doing what they're doing. It's amazing how many runs they score. We talked about it with Mo on our show. They scored if 8 squared, 8 times 8 is 64. They scored 65 runs in their last 8 games. So it was easy math. Wes, that's over 8,
Well, when you find that team, there's no law against staying with it. It works.
No, and again, we felt bad for Arizona, but I keep betting against Arizona. Actually, Arizona's coming here. They're both off today, and then they're coming to San Diego. This Padre team plays much better at home than they're good. Don't get me wrong. They're good on the road, but at home, they're very good. They just do not give up runs on the road. Arizona, they won a game. They were hugging like they just made it to the playoffs or something. But when you're looking, and I tell people, when you're dealing with the Easy Sports data, having the entire year in front of you, you don't use it every day. It's game 60, whatever, right? Whatever. They're I think they're in the 60s for their games. So it doesn't matter a lot of that thing. But today I did it twice. I went back in the season. I said, okay, Now they're playing this team. When they played them at home, now they're on the road or vice versa. What did they do? Looking for pictures and going back and trying to see, why they've got. Sometimes the team will have 7 or 8 games in a row where they just don't give up any runs. Well, don't get me wrong. Good defense has something to do with that, but that's mostly the pitching. Well, in 7 games, Wes, you can have 5 different pitchers start. So in terms of what's giving them that advantage and that they're not giving up runs, you know what? If it's over 9 games, we're talking 3 different series. We're talking 3 different teams. That's not a coincidence, right? You're not accidentally keeping 3 straight teams under 2 or 3 runs a game.
No, there's some consistency there. And as you were talking, I just noticed Houston scored a run. It's now 5-1, and they got the merry-go-round going. They got 1 out. They got a man on second. So
that's what, you know what? Again, I tell people all the time that one of the first times we started talking about this multiple inning stuff for baseball was when you had that 7-run 6 for the Dodgers in the World Series or playoffs, whatever it was, and they just kept scoring. And it takes a while. Sometimes they change a pitcher. Sometimes there's a visit to the mound. Sometimes the catcher will go out there to make sure they got the signals crossed. There's no other sport that really gives you that much time after a scoring play. No, I guess football, they go to a commercial after every scoring play. But all right, so you've got a situation where your team has a man on third base.
Sure do, with 2 outs.
So we're hoping to see that guy come in. And NHL, they made it through. So now I should be able to get some hockey lines. Otherwise, I may have to call the guy that runs my book and say, Joey, what are your people doing there? And, sometimes it's a holiday in the Bermudas, right? Or in the Costa Ricas or wherever they are. So you don't really know. Of course, more and more of these books that are open up in states that are legalized, and eventually it'll be a situation where it's everywhere. But California is lacking, as I discussed in the past. The bottom line is, it's amazing how different the apps are. You were talking about how you like your app, you know how to use it, but a lot of the onshore apps, the state apps, they offer half of what we're dealing with offshore.
Yeah, they do. It's odd. As much as we talk about legalized sports betting in the different states, I've been betting sports freely on my app for, a decade now. And, I was in Vegas and it was a great time, but I found it to be a nuisance that if I placed a bet at Caesars, I had to stay there or go back there to cash my ticket. And there was no live action. And with the app, you can handle the taxes. I'm not a tax advisor, but you can handle that however you wish if you choose to. And, I just find the app far more convenient and beneficial, and there's just a lot more options. So, it'll be great when there's live sports betting everywhere. And I'm sure that there's going to be plenty of people that light that up. But I don't have to go to Vegas to place a futures bet. I need the physical ticket if I want to join that. What's the name of that?
Prop swap. Yep.
Prop swap is fantastic, and you need the physical ticket to do that. But I love my app and the point system and everything else.
Well, the other aspect of it is you're dealing with the Boston guy struck out, so you're still winning headed to the bottom of the 5th. I need 5 runs. What's that? What would that be called? That would be I don't know. Do they have a name for a 5-run homer? In your dreams,
right?
All right. So so hockey was still 0-0, but again, I'm not getting any live action opportunities because my lines are not open. That doesn't really make sense to me. It hasn't happened before, but you got to realize there's just a guy, he's on break, right? He went up back and he locked himself out. He can't get back. But on the who knows?
The thing with this matchup, though, you got to realize is 0-0 at the end of the first is very normal in this Montreal-Vegas series. Even in the games where Vegas has lit the lamp and hung 5 and 4 goals. I don't know if they've hung 5. They might have. But even in the higher scoring games of this series, 0-0 has been it's happened more times than not. So I don't know that there's anything for them to adjust to. We get 5 minutes into the second, I think we're going to see a correction of some sort.
Yeah, exactly. And that, and really you got to have patience, and as you mentioned, you got to have quick fingers. It really comes down to it. All right, so we are talking about the last week of June and the month of July. Now, I do know that Del Mar is open and it's going to have full capacity. I don't know if you realize it, but it's 13 minutes. It takes me 13 minutes. I could technically ride to Del Mar on my bike. I probably could. I don't know if I would want to come back. I might lock it up and go pick it up in my truck, but I could make it there for sure. After partying all day at Del Mar, riding the bike back 13 minutes by car is a whole different animal. But I'm very much looking forward to going out there and playing the horses. Will you physically go to any racetracks in the next 6 to 8 weeks?
Well, we don't have any horse tracks or tracks at all in Kansas City. A couple months back, I was a week late for the Arkansas Derby, but we were at
we do remember that. That was a good story.
But we were at the Apple Blossom, and Arkansas at the time was one of the earlier states to lift the mask mandates and loosen up on some of the COVID protocols. So there was no masks. We were in the infield. There was live music. There were bars set up. I mean, it was a great time at the track. I mean, just everybody screaming and high-fiving each other. And I mean, it just an incredible feeling. And you know what? I'm kind of old school because at the racetrack, I will walk up and place my wagers with physical cash and physical paper. And it just takes me back to a place when life was better. And so I will always do that. But I'm with you. I'm loving every bit of the racing. In fact, I'm looking forward to this Churchill card this weekend. I kind of call this Churchill Stakes race lineup this weekend. We got the Fleur de Lis, we got the Stephen Foster, we got the Bashford. There's a $600,000 race. There's a $300,000 race. When you look at these are kind of like, they're not, you can't call them Derby prep races, but they're kind of like breeders prep races. Who's going to qualify at the G3 level, or who's going to rack up some points, and where does this lead them in the breeders bids that are coming up? So this Churchill card is going to be fantastic. And there's a stakes race at Arlington. Arlington is very close to me because I always drove past Arlington, and this is their final season of racing, and the Chicago Bears have a bid in to buy the property and move to the burbs. But the Chicago Stakes, that's an Arlington original, so it'll be the last one we see.
Yeah, the story that's in the sporting novels that I've got is a true story. When I hit they have every summer at Arlington, they have the big turf festival. And yep. I hit a pick four and I won like $6,700. But the way I won it is in the very first race, my horse ran second, but the horse in front of him's saddle broke. And the guy was kind of spinning around on the horse. Mm-hmm. And if you're not in control of the horse, when you cross that finish line, you can't win. A rule I did not know at that time, but I know very much well. I went on to hit the next two races. And in the last race, my horses, now this is in the days where you got to listen to the replay. You remember those days. You had to call to the replay. Yeah. My horses ran 1-2 the whole way in the last race. I was hitting the pick four and the exacta, and I cashed out for $6,700. It was a bizarre way to win. If that doesn't tell you that gambling's an issue, you don't know. All right, so we just got opened up. We just got some information where the opening of the live action for hockey. So I went with the first period total over a half a goal. And then I went with it over 1.5. But I did your, math where as long as I get that first goal, I can't lose. If I get the second goal, I catch both tickets. I get the first goal, I can't lose. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking to open up. It is they're still in the bottom of the first in Minnesota, which is the play that we're going to sit on and see what happens. They do have two men on with 2 outs. And Tampa Bay's got a man on first in the bottom of the fifth. And unless it's going to be a 5-run homer, I'm not doing anything. Toronto's up to 9, though. We got them at 10.5. Houston's up to 6. We've got them at 6.5 and 7.5. Those are in the fourth and third inning. Really feeling pretty good about those plays, huh?
It must be that new search and seizure protocol they got. They're searching pitchers and show me your stuff.
I'm surprised. The guy last night in the Dodger game, I mean, he walked in the lead run and they stopped him as he was trying to cross third base and took his glove away from him to check it. They seem to be fairly aggressive, but we all know from the steroid era that home runs drive the people. And if you don't have the people, then you don't have the money. And so they don't like pitchers doing really, really well. That's basically what it comes down to. All right, so let's see where we're at. We're right about time to get out to tell you guys a little about championshipfootballs.com. And they really are. They're the coolest present you'll open that day, guaranteed. I'm second half Chaz. We've got Blackhawk West from 151 Sports Investing. You're listening on Sports Betting Weekly Live or Belly Up Sports Podcast Network, or if it's 834 New York, you know where you are. You're on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
At championshipfootballs.com, they offer a 100% money-back guarantee on every single souvenir football that they sell. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. There's nothing worse than trying to find the right gift for somebody that already has everything. Whether that special present is for a New England Patriots fan or an Ohio State Buckeyes backer. Maybe Grams is a lifelong New York Giants supporter. Or your brother-in-law is a 12th man living in Seattle. Know a member of the Michigan State Alumni Association? Is there a better Father's Day gift for someone who's a Baltimore Ravens fan? Send them the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, if your favorite pro team is the Buffalo Bills or those Minnesota Vikings, well, they're sorry about that. Also, if you're a New Mexico State Aggies or Tulane Green Wave alumnus, not much they can do. After all, the name isn't nice effort, you had a pretty good season, footballs.com. The name is championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
Hey, this is an important message. I'm second half Chaz from Sports Betting Weekly. Sports betting is supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. If you're hurting yourself by gambling with money you don't have, check out our website for the Gamblers Anonymous phone number.
When Vince Young scored on 4th and 5 in the 2006 Rose Bowl, two things happened. The Texas Longhorns won the NCAA title, and championshipfootballs.com was born. From Texas to Alabama to Ohio State, and now for Super Bowl winners too. Championshipfootballs.com is the place for the coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed. Now, 10 years later, championshipfootballs.com has the autographs too. See if any of these names remind you of a special time in your football life. Michael Bennett, Lou Holtz, Joe Montana, Devin Smith, Jameis Winston, Rocky Blyer, Rocket Ishmael, Ara Parsegian, Mike Stonebreaker, Chris Zorich, Luther Bradley, Todd Light, Tony Rice, Lawrence Taylor, Dave Casper, Marcus Mariota, Rudy Rudiger, David Tyree. Enter the promo code RADIO and you'll instantly save $50 on any of the championshipfootballs.com autographed footballs. Championshipfootballs.com. The coolest present they'll open that day, guaranteed.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Sports Betting Weekly.
Sit back and enjoy the show.
Chicken dinner.
Welcome back to Sports Betting Weekly. I am second half Chaz. We are cashing tickets officially here. I apologize. We're really this close to cashing tickets. We've got Blackhawk West, who is about to put up the first winner of the night. We didn't really have a lot of action because, of course, the hockey game didn't start until we got on the air. Basketball doesn't start till after we're off the air. And there's only a handful of baseball games. Unfortunately, a lot of them, they jumped out to early leads, but we haven't cashed the live action yet. So,
I beg to differ, sir. We just cashed.
all right. Joey Wendell strikes out swinging, and Boston wins. They still have the Rays still have a no-hitter going. So you just cashed a ticket against the team with a no-hitter. That's pretty good to do.
Well, we took the half a point, and at this point I'm looking at Boston to close out the game and win outright.
Yeah, I'm going to back off now, and I may come back if I see the bats change. But as long as pitchers are doing what they're doing and they're throwing, they're not throwing a lot of pitches. So right now you got, let's see, who do we have? Let's go to the Red Sox guy. He's thrown, how many pitches do you think he's thrown in 5 innings? Let's see here. 69 and 70, yeah. That's a lot of there's a lot of pitches left in those arms. So we're going to sit tight on that one. However, let's look at Minnesota kicking it up a notch and scoring in the first. So we're going to hop on them live. We're going to hop on them, and it went up to 5.5. So we're going to basically, when our teams score early, now we couldn't do it for Toronto because we were getting ready for the show, and boom, they put 6 up in the first. It happened so fast. They just finally, after 5 innings, they have flashed a no-hitter. So you were on the Worldwide Sports Radio app, and you won money on a team that has a betting against the team that currently has a no-hitter, thanks to Black Hawk West. Washington's still up 5-0, so we're looking good there. Yeah, we're winning. We're winning 9-0, 6-1, 5-0, and 1-0 on a game that just started. So we're going to sit tight there. We've got a power play now with the Canadians. Now, I'm not watching the game, and Wes, are you watching the game? But you got really dark. I just noticed you're really dark.
Yeah, I got dark. I can hit a light. It's the sun's going down. It is 7:39 here in Kansas City.
We're in different time zones. It's only 8:39 here in New York, but it's 5:39 here in San Diego. All right, so I'm not watching the game, but I am paying attention to it. So let's do this. Let's talk about what we're going to do this weekend. All right, so I know that I'm excited because my pool opened today. My pool opened. The bubbles don't work in the spa. They call them jets. I call them bubbles. But the pool guy is supposed to come back. So that's going to change my world because let me tell you, when you have sports on your phone at a pool in Southern California, even sometimes when you're not winning, it's okay. I mean, it's just a fun time. So I'm really looking forward to that. And, my kids are both into NBA. So the playoffs are a big deal in our house. We're watching them. And that alley-oop to win the game was just an amazing play. I had to assume all that.
Yeah. Oh, God. It was great. And it's always fun to watch. It's hard to watch some of these NBA collapses. That's for sure. But that was a great shot.
And the young kids are really just taking over the game. I mean, it's just amazing how many great young kids. I mean, Trae Young is young. He's like 22 years old, and he's playing out there. He's balling with men. He really is. So it's exciting. And, hockey, of course, hockey is always going to be at night. So you're not going to get hockey or NBA Plus by the pool. You're going to get baseball by the pool. And baseball is a slow, kind of methodical game. But for pool, it's fine because the pool is a kind of slow, methodical place. So that's what I'm looking at for my weekend, is trying to continue basically to win it. And I'm telling you that you got another run or what?
Nah, we just cashed. Montreal stuffed one home for the over 0.5.
All right, there we go. We got 5 minutes, so we're cashing another ticket. And again, what would you say, Wes? The amount of tickets we cash while we're on the air versus we make on the air and cash later, it's got to be what? 3-1. Most of the tickets are cashed after the show.
I don't know the percentages. It's in our favor. It's in your favor if you're out there listening. And we cash more than we do. And I gotta say, to John, you made the right decision celebrating your 12th, doing the dinner with the wife, and congratulations. And I do apologize and my condolences to your Las Vegas Golden Knights, because I know what it's like to watch your team and get this close. And there's no feeling that will fast forward you to 1 year where they're in the same spot. I know John's a big Golden Knights fan, but
that's a fine example where, my book doesn't offer that bet, but I found a way to still cash a ticket. Even though they didn't offer that bet, I found a way to cash a ticket. And really, that's what you got to do. But don't get me wrong. I have 3 different books that I use. Not always the same at the same time. Usually I'll have money in one or the other. But when football comes, I almost always have all those books with money in them because I'm shopping for lines.
Yeah, and there's value in that too, shopping for the lines. But football's funny like that because we wait all year for football to start, and then we wait all week for Saturday or for Sunday, and it's like we just can't wait the 4 days. So we start shopping around the lines pre-game, but we know that once the game gets started, the live action is what's going to actually pay you anyway, regardless of what side.
Even those, some don't offer it. Some will give you some might say team total is 27.5, and some might have 27, and 27 is better than 27.5 in my book.
Yeah.
For the logic of there's no half point in football. You can score a lot of different ways in a lot of different sports. There ain't one half in any of them,
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to say, because we just cashed twice, I'm just going to throw the next play out there. We just cashed 2 full units. I'm going to go back in for a half a unit for Montreal minus 0.5 live regulation. So Montreal just needs to win the game in regulation time. It pays minus 120. Again, we can't get hurt because we won 2 full units. We're going in for a half a unit. So worst case scenario is we walk away with a 1.5 unit cash on tonight, and that's the strategy. That's how you protect yourself and manage the bankroll. And we're risking some more to win a little bit more, but we can't lose because we already cashed twice.
All right, so let's look at that again. We're on regulation time.
Yep. So and there's a lot. I like playing those because there's more value. If you were to take Montreal for the game, you have to lay 1, which means 2-1 is a push, 3-2 is a push. But if you go to the live regulation, all you got to lay is a half a point. I'm not really as concerned with the difference between minus 105 and minus 115. I'm looking at cash at the end of the third period. So if this thing goes into overtime, the minus 1 doesn't mean anything anyway. So there's not a lot of empty netters taking place in these games. Vegas is way too good at puck control to let that happen. So when they get the 6th man, I just don't see Montreal going empty netter. So I'm on Montreal minus half a point live regulation, and that's great odds for a team that's winning 1-0 right now.
What is your odds?
Minus 115, and my book is clearly afraid of the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm not sure why, because Montreal is just been a puck controlled defensive team, and as I'm saying that, Vegas just scored. So now we got another opportunity on Montreal.
There you go. So that's why I got shut out. Because I got shut out of that. I didn't know why. It's still shown 0-1, but that's my second goal, right?
And so we got ourselves a clean live action sweep night.
Yeah, I just cashed another one. I think I had another one. Let's see. Let's go to pending. We're going to be over 1.5. It was plus 241. Not bad. That's a 2-teamer. I'll take that. Well, with baseball, as you know, when you're betting pitchers, 2-teamers are barely getting you even money.
Yeah, they are.
So, all right. So we're in good shape here. We've got. We're going to check in on the Boston Tampa Bay no-hitter. Still a no-hitter. And I will say right now, I have won a few no-hitters this year, where the game maybe not ended as a no-hitter, but I was betting the team and they had the no-hitter. So the fact that I have the over in a game that is a no-hitter, I obviously misread the game, or these pitchers are pitching lights out. And part of that is that, as you know, you're a major league pitcher. Just because your ERA is 4 doesn't mean you're a bad pitcher. It just means the bottom line is you've given up some runs. And you can have one bad outing, give up 10 runs. You see it all the time. They get hammered.
It's just a lot. It's just averaging. And like this Vegas goalie, he's got a very high goals against average because he had one bad game. And that's the same thing that happens to the pitcher. If he gets lit up real good one particular game, but he's only been in 5-10 games. If he's in 5 games and he gets lit up real good for one, well, that bad game carries more weight, just like the good game carries more weight if he's not a high volume starter.
All right, so we got 2 goals in 7 minutes or something to cash 2 tickets. What do we do next with this game? We want to take some of that money. We don't want to take all that money, but we want to take some of that money and go back in. What are we going to do?
So I already went back in on the minus 0.5 Montreal. But if you're on the Montreal side, we now have a money line plus money situation, plus 120 for the game. So even if it goes into overtime, you now got plus 120, which was the original line. The over-under for the game has gone to 6.5. I do not believe we're seeing 7 goals in this game. It's minus 130, under 6.5. I think you go there. The original over-under was 5. This will not be a 7-goal game. Not the way that these 2 goalies and these defenses can play. So,
all right, let me ask you one more time, because what I was about to click on was Canadians regulation time minus 0.5, and it was minus 114. That
Yep.
same bet is plus 190. Do I click the button now?
Well, yes, I certainly would. I mean, I'm in that bet. So I liked it at minus 115. So I'm absolutely in love, ready to propose to it at plus 190.
It totally makes sense. It totally makes sense. Now, what about overtime? You mentioned something about if it does go overtime. Right now, Canadians are plus 1.5, but it's like minus 67,000 or something.
Yeah, I'm on the Canadians in this game. So if you believe that and that they're going to win the game, your play is money line, whether it's regulation or in or just the total for the game. So if you're on the Canadian side, and there's no real value here for Vegas unless you're willing to lay a point, which
Right,
they're capable.
Currently, they have on my book over 3.5 for Vegas, but only over 2.5 for team total for Montreal. So I think I'm going to take a little bit of that winnings and go back and do over 2.5 for Montreal.
Yeah, I think that's a safe play. Montreal typically scores 3 in their wins, and then I'm under the game total 6.5, and now I'm pumping the brakes. I went in for another half unit, so now I've gone back in for a half unit twice, and but we're up 2 units for the baseball win and for the original first period win. So I'm back in for 1, and the worst case scenario is we push, but I still have 2 different wagers. So all I got to do is hit 1 to guarantee a winning night.
Yeah, they took that off the board for me, so I can't get that. But what I'll do is I'll hang around here in the live action for the Vegas Golden Knights at Montreal game and see if I can get back. There it is. So, yeah, I think the odds went in my favor. So I'm going to hop on Montreal team total over 2.5. So let's get over, because we've got just a handful of minutes left. So let's go over to baseball. And it's still 0-0. Tampa Bay still has not gotten a hit going into the bottom of the 6th. I have the Atlanta team total under. That's one of my plays. And I just cashed that ticket for the first 5 innings. That was not a live play, so I don't really count it. But let's go to Houston. So Houston is – Toronto's still 9-0. I need 10.5 there.
Bases loaded.
Houston has got the other team. Detroit's got the bases loaded. But I'm not worried about that, because it seems like the last thing you really want to do is score against Houston, because they just turn around and they score more. It's amazing. So we're going to sit tight on those. And the hockey game has got a little bit of left. So we got a few minutes. Let's talk about the game that comes on after us. Do you bet much of the NBA playoffs? Are you betting it before the game, or you're just looking for opportunities? I've been mostly betting opportunities.
I've been mostly betting opportunities, but I do like to have action on the first quarter, whether it's over or under, and it just depends on the numbers. Anything above 55, at 55, I'm probably going over, but anything at 56, 57, 58, I'm probably looking under or walking away. But these first quarters have been pretty high scoring, and the pace, this like with tonight's game, the Suns play at such an outrageous pace, and that's what makes it exciting to watch. It doesn't matter to me that LeBron and Kevin Durant are out of the playoffs, because the way that these Phoenix Suns are playing, it's just such a great pace. So I look at first quarter overs, and I go into it for a half or even a quarter unit just to have some action on that first quarter, depending on what number I like.
Let me tell you right now, anybody that makes third, I have a third unit. I'll go a third unit. I'll do a quarter unit. I'll do whatever I feel does it. I took a small play. Remember I asked you about your highlight? I had the Padres. They were up 2-0. They gave up 4 runs in the top of the 9th. I loaded up on them at 894, plus 894. And I made it a small little third unit. But guess what I got out of it?
Yeah.
I got 3 units.
Yeah.
I got 3 units out of it. Now I took that 3 units and keep playing. So you're absolutely right. And it's 54.5. That is what it is as we speak right now. So.
Yeah, and I'm on the over there for the first quarter for sure.
All right, so that starts here in a handful of minutes. We got a few minutes left before the loudmouths come on. So the loudmouths, as I mentioned, they allowed me to visit. We had a lot of fun, but boy, they really, they talk sports and then they drift. They drift and they have so much fun. We laugh so hard. But before that, Wes, this weekend, talk to us about where they could find you. I know you do a lot of financial stuff, so just give us a quick rundown.
So you can find me at Chicago Options Trader. That's my members page. So during the week, we're into the market. I got guys looking at crypto. We're into options plays. We're into long-term investing plays in equities, and that's my members page. The recording for this show will get posted into the Sports Bet, and you can find me at 151 Sports Investing on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And of course, you can find me through the sportsbettingweekly.com at the cash tickets page.
Yeah, Speedy P always tells me, you got to do the button. I forget the button. So on the bottom, you can check out John on Instagram, GMF_sports_consultant. Follow us on Twitter at 151_sports. You can play like the public, hashtag the public. Go to Bitly. Cash tickets here. You just go to Sports Betting Weekly. On the top is a cash tickets page. You can cash tickets with us. And again, between now and Monday, I'm in a hole. I'm down two figures. So it's not unsurmountable. But I'm looking to have 7 straight winning weeks, which is pretty good. That's pretty good. I mean, I took the initial investment. I think we're trying to get it to 8x now. And we're going to keep rolling because we're going to use that money to dominate Canadian football.
we sure are.
All right. So, again, you can catch the show, sportsbettingweeklylive.com on the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network. Also, Worldwide Sports Radio Network is where we are live as we sign off because, guess what? You get the loudmouths. And I'm second half Chaz. Always be cashing.
Always be cashing.